Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Daniel. Today we begin looking at Daniel chapter 2. The focus of this chapter is on a dream that Nebuchadnezzar the king has and Daniel's ability to interpret that dream. Now it begins this way. In the second year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams. His mind was troubled, he could not sleep. So the king summoned his magicians, enchanters, sorcerers, and astrologers to tell him what he had dreamed. So they came in, they stood before the king, and he said, I've had a dream and it troubles me. I want to know what it means. So the astrologers answered the king, May the king live forever. Tell your servants the dream. We will interpret it for you. So Nebuchadnezzar has a dream, but it's not just a normal dream. It's very specific. It's very clear to him, and it troubles him greatly. He feels like it portends something that is about to occur, and he must know the meaning. So he calls some of his advisors, those who are magicians, astrologers, sorcerers, with the instruction they are to interpret the dream for him, to tell him what it means, because it's troubling him deeply. Well, they, of course, come and they have great confidence. They say, well, tell us the dream, and we will interpret it for you. We'll tell you what it means, O king. However, Nebuchadnezzar is about to throw them a curveball, because he has an interesting stipulation he puts on it. Now he replies to the astrologers, verse 5. Now this is what I firmly decided. If you do not tell me what my dream was and interpret it for me, I will have you cut into pieces, your houses turned into piles of rubble. But if you tell me the dream and explain it, then you will receive from me gifts and rewards, great honor. So tell me the dream now and interpret it for me. Now it seems that Nebuchadnezzar was not fully trusting his advisors, his astrologers, his magicians. He knew he could tell them the dream and they could give him any interpretation they imagined. But how would he know it's true? How would he know the interpretation was true? So he decided, I'll not tell you the dream. First, you tell me what the dream was, and if you know what the dream was without my telling it to you, then I can trust your interpretation. And he puts a penalty with it. If you cannot tell me the dream and interpret it, I'll destroy you. However, if you will tell me the dream and interpret it, I will give you great honor. Well, as we read on, his advisors say, King, that's impossible. No one can do what you've asked us to do. That's simply impossible. And so he orders a decree that all the magicians, all the astrologers, all the people in the kingdom who are to advise him in this fashion will be executed. Now remember, Daniel and his friends are part of this group. They were not part of that original group called in. They're not in that high level yet, but they're about to be. But they're under the order of execution. So when Daniel hears about what is going to happen, go down to verse 14, he asked his advisor what's going on. Now Arioch, the commander of the king's guard, had gone out, and he was going to put to death the wise men of Babylon. But Daniel spoke to him with wisdom and with tact. He said to the king's officer, Why did the king issue such a harsh decree? Arioch explained the matter to Daniel. So Daniel asked for some more time that he might interpret the dream, and he was given that time. So once Daniel finds out what's going on, he tells the king's official, listen, give us a little more time. I think I can interpret this dream for the king. And so that extra time is granted. But notice what Daniel does. And this shows the strength of his character. Now Daniel returned to his house, and he explained the matter to his friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Of course, that's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He urged them to plead for mercy from the God of heaven concerning this mystery, so that he and his friends might not be executed with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. And during the night, the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a vision. So Daniel praised the God of heaven and said, Praise be to the name of God forever and ever. Wisdom and power are his. The first thing Daniel does is he prays. And he gets his friends to pray as well. They know that their only hope is in God. They know that the wisdom comes from God. They know that the ability to know the dream and interpret the dream comes from God. Daniel doesn't turn to his own strength. He turns to God. He prays. He and his friends pray. And that night, God speaks to Daniel, revealing to him the dream and its interpretation. You know, we should all be like Daniel. Trust in God, and may prayer always be our first action. Sometimes prayer is the last thing we do. It should be the first thing we do. When you face a difficult situation, when you're in a tight spot, pray. Get your friends to pray for you. Organize a prayer meeting. Know that God hears our prayers and he answers. Daniel and his friends prayed. God answered his prayer. So in verse 24 it says, So Daniel goes back to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to execute the wise men of Babylon, and said, Do not execute the wise men of Babylon. Take me to the king. I will interpret the dream for him. So Daniel is taken to the king, and Arioch says to Nebuchadnezzar, I have found a man from among the exiles of Judah who can tell the king what his dream means. And the king asked Daniel, Are you able to interpret my dream? Can you tell it to me and interpret it? Daniel says, No wise man can explain to the king this mystery, but there is a God in heaven who reveals mystery, and he has shown Nebuchadnezzar what will happen in the days to come. So Daniel makes sure that Nebuchadnezzar knows that the understanding comes from God, the true God. He has shown that to me, says Daniel. God is about to show Nebuchadnezzar through his dream what is coming to pass in the days of the future. Hope you join us tomorrow as we'll look in specifics at the dream Nebuchadnezzar had and how Daniel interpreted it for him. So join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the book of Daniel.